Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Brownstone. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle, and you're listening to Numbers Don't Lie, where you learn to get out your feelings so you can make the best decisions for yourself, your family, and your business. On today's show, we're going to be talking about stop waiting for help. Now, that may be a little contrary to what your parents have told you or what other people have told you along your life journey, but it's going to all make sense. So don't leave me too early because, I don't want you to walk away with just a teach of the message. So today's show, we're going to give a little bit of introduction to Black History Month. It's right around the corner, so I'm going to drop a little history on you. And let me go ahead and warn you now. You might get in your feelings a little bit. You might. You just might. But I can't let you leave like that. So you have to stick around to the end because I also have an important charge for you and I want you to accept it. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's show. Now, I know you've heard that our ancestors were supposed to receive 40 acres and a mule for reparations, right? I think we've all heard that, right? So let me give you a little history about where that came from. And I'm going to read it because I don't want to mess this up, okay? So as the Civil War was winding down almost 160 years ago, Union leaders gathered a group of ministers in Savannah, Georgia. The goal was to help thousands of newly freed slaves. So from that meeting came General William T. Sherman's Special Field Order 15. Okay, so remember that. Special Field Order 15. It set aside land along the southeast coast so that each family would have a plot of no more than 40 acres of tillable ground. General Sherman spent weeks in Savannah where he and Secretary of War Edwin Stanton held their meeting with local Black leaders. Sherman and Stanton asked the group's leaders, which was Reverend Garrison Frazier, a series of questions. And one question was, state in what manner you would rather live, whether scattered among whites or in colonies by yourselves. And Reverend Frazier responded, I would rather live by ourselves, for there is prejudice against us in the South that would take years to get over. Whew. Let me just stop right here. He said it would take years to get over. And we're, a century later, and most of us can still testify that that is true. Now, another Black leader said, we want to be free from domination of white men. We want to be educated and we want our own land. 4 days later, General Sherman assigned Field Order 15. He signed Field Order 15, setting aside 400,000 acres of confiscated Confederate land for free slaves. And he appointed General Rufus Saxton to divide up the land, giving each family up to 40 acres. On January 16, 1865, it became known as the 40 acres and a mule rule, right? But after Lincoln's assassination, President Andrew Johnson reversed Sherman's order. But let me start over because I'm messing that up. I need y'all to hear this because I ain't know this until recently. But after Lincoln's assassination, President Andrew Johnson reversed Sherman's order and gave the land back to its former Confederate owners. Let that sit there. There was something put out there to help these newly freed slaves, to give them reparations for the injustice that they had faced. They're not just them, their families, their ancestors. They knew nothing but bondage, nothing but slavery, nothing but living with the worst in the worst conditions. And here was some Union leaders that were willing and ready to make things right. Even consulted with them, said, what do you want? What can we do to help you, to apologize, to make something right? And just like that, leadership changes. They said, never mind. And they gave the land back to those Confederate leaders, slavers that had them in bondage. So let's fast forward to more recent history, because most of us alive, almost all of us alive, we have no memory of that. We don't know that. We didn't experience slavery. We didn't hear those promises that were made directly to our family. We weren't, waiting for this big thing to happen. Like, oh, it got signed. Yes, we're about to get some land. We about to come up. That hasn't been our lived experience. It's just, something that they said and we're living day to day. But let me catch you up. As of 2019, these are current stats. As of 2019, single white men start with the highest median wealth and continue to outpace single white women, Black men, and women throughout the life cycle. And I think most of us that are living can see that fact that as a whole, not all white men, but as a whole, collectively, white men have more wealth than everyone else, right? Everyone else. The median wealth of single white men under the age of 35 is 14 times that of single Black men and 224 times that of single Black women. Mhm. By the age of 55 and older, single white men hold 1.3 times more wealth than white women. So the white women have caught up, but 8.1 times more wealth than single Black men and women. Right? So the gap is still there. It's a little smaller. It's still there. But that was in 2019. We all know what happened in 2020, right? We all collectively still living through a world pandemic. So I'm a catch you up because I think you're catching my drift when I say that. Because the most devastating part about what we know, all the history, even what I just read to you, the most devastating part about US history and the injustices that it inflicted on people living on US soil is that you would think over time things have progressed, right? They've gotten better. Their quality of life should be no different from mine. The amount of wealth they can accumulate should be no different from mine, or our ability to get it should be no different. And we should expect that disparity, that's what it's called, the disparity to close over time, right? And to eventually be no different. Like at some point, it should be no different. There's no difference between how you were born, what race, immigrant, any of that stuff. At some point in time, there should be no difference, right? Because we hold these ideals to be true. Everyone's entitled to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. So at some point, we should all have the same quality of life or access to it. Unfortunately, that's not true. And what I just read to you only got worse after COVID-19, after this world pandemic. Those are the facts. Those are the facts. Those are the numbers. So I want you to take a moment right now to just sit with it. Let everything I said sink in. You might feel like crying. You might feel like yelling. You might be angry. So right now, I give you permission to feel it. Sit with it. Don't rush past it. Don't assume that it's all good, because for some of you, this is the first time that you've heard numbers read to you like that. For some of you, this is the first time that you've heard the history about where 40 acres and a mule came from. And for me, it was the first time that I heard how close our ancestors were to having it. And to hear that with the stroke of a pen, it was all taken away. It wasn't just a conversation. It wasn't just talk. It was something that was about to happen. It was an order. And orders are meant to be delivered. It was an order. With the stroke of a pen, it was all gone. So sit. You can close your eyes if you want. Now come back because I can't let you leave the show in these deep feelings. I don't want you to feel hopeless. I don't want you to feel like things aren't getting better because in the grand scheme, things are better. We don't live the same life that our grandparents, our great grandparents, those that came out of slavery. Things are better. I don't want you to feel like, you know, just depressed that woe is me. So come back. We can all acknowledge that the government has not collectively done anything to right the wrong of slavery, right the wrong of abuse, of murder. Some states, some counties have done some things to help families recover land that was stolen from them. And we applaud those efforts. That's still forward movement. But collectively, it hasn't been done. And typically when we see that happen, they're in more, progressive states and counties like California. Some beaches restored in California and New York. But collectively, especially for those of you that live in the South like me, we haven't really seen much action down here, and we haven't seen enough action across these United States. And I think at this point, we can all agree that if the government hasn't done anything yet, they might not. They might not ever. They might not ever. So I need you to stop waiting for them to do something. Stop waiting for them to have an epiphany that, oh man, we did these people wrong. We still doing them wrong. We owe them something. Stop waiting for permission to live, to breathe, to experience abundance. Stop waiting for some savior to come and do whatever you think they should do to make things right, because they may not ever come. In the words of Lamar Tyler, you're going to hear me say that name a lot because he's a really great business coach. In the words of Lamar Tyler, we are the ones. We are the ones. We're the ones that our future generation is waiting for. We are the ones. Don't look to the left, don't look to the right. Don't look for the top dog, big dog to come down. We are the ones. So let me pause right now and remind you that you are listening to Numbers Don't Lie. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle, on KCCR, The Brownstone. You can follow me on social media at Mogul Beginnings, on Instagram and Facebook at Mogul Beginnings, MOGUL, and also at thebrownstoneworldwide.com. Welcome home, y'all. Welcome home. You are the one. You're the ones that your grandchildren, future grandchildren, are waiting for. You are. I don't know if you ever heard that before. I don't know if it's been phrased like that. I don't know if you've ever been empowered to believe that you are, but you are. You are the ones that your bloodline is waiting for. Now, I know some of you may already be thinking like, well, Dr. Michelle, we've tried this before. We've done this before. They tore down Black Wall Street. They, devastated and destroyed Black Wall Street in Tulsa. They've done it in different parts of North Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas, and even some that we have yet to know because the history is still being buried. I know you're probably thinking that. That's a natural thought to think. Highways ran through these thriving Black communities just to see them turn to poverty and worse than status quo. But does that mean we give up? Does that mean we live in despair and defeat? Because I wasn't created to live as a defeated victim, and neither were you. You have the same creator as I do. We're not created as victims. We're not created to live beneath. So no, that doesn't mean we give up. Because let me tell you a big difference between then and now. A big difference between then and now was they were limited and bound by space. Their connectivity was limited to their proximity. They needed to be in walking distance, in buggy distance. Couldn't be too far. You're listening from anywhere right now, right? Could be in another country. You might be on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. You might be in the Midwest, Deep South. You could be anywhere. I can work with you from anywhere. You can work with me from anywhere. You can go to school. You're in Arizona. You can go to University of was it New Hampshire? You're in New York. You can go to University of Phoenix. We're not limited to space anymore. That was a huge limitation because all their buildings were together. They all congregated in the same place. We have this great internet. We're not bound in the same way they were. We are everywhere. So there is not one place that can be burned down that can stop this entire movement. So take courage in that. Let that be your motivation. And man, I can't be stopped because my business besties, actually, this is true for me. My business besties don't live in South Carolina. They're all over the country. My real estate mentors and friends don't live in South Carolina. So the communities they're building up and the communities that I'm building up and the communities that you're building up across the way can't be stopped with one torch. Take heart in that. Now, these disparities that we talked about today, because remember, that's what a disparity is, a huge difference, right? These disparities that I've mentioned today, they've always intrigued me. Honestly, that's why I ended up with all these degrees, why I ended up in the classroom, because when I started to learn about the state of Black Americans, I got angry, I got sad, I felt it all. And I wanted to do something about it. So I said, you know what? I see these statistics about the educational system. Let me enter the education system. And that's why I became a teacher. When I got into entrepreneurship, and my mind continued to change about how I can help and serve my community. Remember, because we are the ones. So in an effort to change and study these statistics, that's how I end up those degrees and end up in the classroom and even where I am right now is speaking to you. One thing that my business coach said last year, I will never forget this. I will never forget this. And I hope you don't either. He said, people tend to hire others that look like them. Take a moment to think about that. That's how nepotism works, right? Your child, your grandchild, your niece, your cousin, your friend's daughter. I see it. I see it at my own job. I see it happen. Somebody gets brought in. There was no hiring process. That's their child. That's their niece. That's their, neighbor's daughter. And those people tend to look like them because we're connected. We usually tend to gather, be friends with, have relationships, have community with people that look like us or have our same shared experience. Right? So people tend to hire others that look like them. Now, is that any wonder why the unemployment rate is what it is? Why the unemployment rate for African Americans are higher than others? Have you ever thought about that? I never considered that. You just took it as like, that's just what it is to be Black in America, right? You kind of separate it from things. But to be Black in America, yes, but also we're not in positions enough to hire others that look like us, right? We're not. I know it's tons of entrepreneurs that are listening right now. And many of us are solopreneurs. I'm a solopreneur. Is it the goal to stay a solopreneur? No, because it's a lot of work. Oh, Jesus, it's a lot of work. Who want to do everything all the time, be all things? It's a lot of work. But unfortunately, too many of us have remained solopreneurs for an extensive amount of time. whether it be because you never thought about hiring, whether it be you think hiring people is going to be too expensive, or whether that is you're just struggling enough you just can't afford to hire nobody else. We stay that way too long. So the charge is for you that are listening is not to just shop at Black businesses. That's okay, yes, do that. But that's not enough. It's not big enough. The charge is greater than that. The charge is for all Black business owners and those aspiring to be business owners. Now, hear me when I say this. The charge for you is to take your passion seriously. Take it seriously. If they won't create jobs, you do it. If they won't pay a livable wage, you do it. You be the change that you want to see. It's time for us to stop talking about, oh, the government ain't this, ain't nobody helping me. They only giving grants to some people. Mm-mm. We can't take those excuses with us this year. We're still at the beginning of the year. And if you listen to this in the middle of the year, at the end of the year, it still counts. You still got more time to get it right than keep living in the past and using the past excuses. So what do I mean take it seriously? What I mean by take it seriously is get some help. Get the right help. Not look for savior help. Get help to help you advance in where you want to go. Get a business coach. Because some of you have been struggling for way too long, have been in business for over a decade and still struggling. Is at the point where is there a difference between you having your own business and working for someone else? Because sometimes it's just easier to just go get that 9 to 5 because you're struggling in your business. If that's you, I need you to get a business coach. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. At this point, some of you cannot afford not to. I use a lot of double negatives, but you know what I'm saying. You can't afford not to get the proper help, not savior help, strategy help, because they've been there, they've been on that road, and they can help you 2x and 10x your business in half the time. For some of you have been working for over a decade in your business and you've been stagnant. Even if you've hit 6 figures, you hit that same 6 figures every year and have not been able to get past it. Like there's a ceiling. There's a business coach that can see the potholes that you can't see. They can take a step back and see the bigger picture. You so far in it, because remember, a lot of us are solopreneurs. You so far in doing everything, sending all the emails, doing all the follow-up, going to every site, that you can't take a step back and get out the weeds. So you can't even see the whole forest. A business coach can see that and help push you, because y'all, we literally have no more time to waste. We've wasted too much time wanting to be accepted. We've wasted too much time making excuses. We wasted too much time looking for someone else to come in and save the day. You are the ones. We have to redeem the time that we've lost to poverty. Redeem the time that we've lost living beneath our worth. Remember, you weren't created to live beneath. You weren't created to live as a victim. You weren't created to live in devastation, in despair. We need to move quickly. We have no more time to waste. For those parents, your children, those aspiring parents, your children and grandchildren will be your age before you know it. And you don't want them to be having the same conversations that you're having. I know I don't want that for my family. I'm changing my generation. I'm changing my bloodline. And I want you to do the same thing. So that's your charge. Business owners, future business owners, take it seriously, because you are the ones. You're the ones that can hire your brothers and sisters. You're the ones, all the people that we complain about seeing in the street, all our brothers and sisters that come out of prison and end up back in prison because they don't have any jobs that people are willing to pay them, give another chance. You are the ones. You are the ones. They are waiting for us to give them a hand up. Will you extend it? I need you to give me a yes on that. And say it loud and proud. Yes. Yes, you are the ones. Yes, I am the one. I am the one that has jobs waiting for when they come out of prison, waiting for when they realize that the help may not come from other places. It may come from their own community. We are the ones. You are the ones. So take that charge seriously. And I want to thank you for hanging out with me today in the Brownstone. It means a lot to me that you sat and listened. And because if you made it right here, that means you made it to the end. You made it to, how we muddle up in our feelings. And you made it to hear the charge. Because it won't be like this always. But it takes people like you and me to do something different. So thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for taking that charge seriously. Remember, this is Numbers Don't Lie. We're getting out of our feelings because we came out. We're getting out of our feelings so we can make the best decisions for ourselves, our family, and our business. Now, make sure you come back next week because we're going to give you some strategy. We talked about the wealth gap, right? We're going to give you some strategy about how to build that wealth for your family, especially for entrepreneurs. You definitely don't want to miss it. You want to be in the place. I have a special guest that's coming that's going to, lay it down for you. Even if you feel like you're too old, I want you to come and listen and make sure you share it with your family and friends because this is not information that we can hoard to ourselves. We are stronger together. And together means not withholding information because we are scared they're going to outpace us and do better than us. It don't matter. If one wins, we all win. So come back, share with your family and friends. It's going to be all good. Remember, you can follow me on social media, Instagram and Facebook at Mogul Beginnings. That's Mogul, Mogul Beginnings on Instagram and Facebook, and also at brownstoneworldwide.com. So come look for us. Come hang out with me. Follow me. Hear what we're talking about. And remember, every Wednesday, I have a live Q&A that happens on Instagram at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time called Ask a Data Scientist, where you can come and ask me business questions and I give you the answer from the perspective of a data scientist. Because as data scientists, we just help people answer their business questions and we use data to do that. So I need you to join me on Wednesday. It's live. If you want to submit a question, you can go to my Instagram page and you can submit that question. All right. Click the link in my bio, submit that question. I will answer it live and I will tag you so you know that I answered your question. Thank you again for spending time with me in the Brownstone. I hope to see you again. Come on back. And until next time, I'm Dr. Michelle. Have a great rest of your day.
Mogul Beginnings Data Consulting helps nonprofits and small businesses strategize, optimize, and scale by unleashing the power of their data. So if you're ready for your data to be unleashed to help your business tell beautiful stories, connect today by logging on to mogulbeginnings.com. That's mogulbeginnings.com.